Good morning, Daily Huddle family, and welcome back to Money Monday on a follow-up to what a fantastic weekend we had. We had an event, most of you know, a live event that we had not live streamed. We were actually in person. Lots of great communication and lots of great times that we had, and thoroughly enjoyed that, as I'm sure other people will express as we go through the day this morning. So what we want to do is get started today talking about how do I build my financial house. But before we do that, does anyone know how you can tell a good dad joke?
Oh, no.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Tell me.
You make sure it's not funny.
No. Well, that makes for a good dad joke. But the answer is, it should be apparent.
Oh, no.
The winning.
Zach's got a second career as a comedian coming up. Well, good morning, everyone. First, I want to tell you guys how excited I am about my coffee mug. You guys see it? Like, it's official. If you were there this weekend, you have your own as well. So now we're officially part of the Daily Huddle because we have our own coffee mugs. And on Monday mornings, we can cheers you all. I hope you all got your mug shot with Sorrel, as was it Mary that said that?
I think so.
That was pretty fantastic. But before we start the day and before we start talking about your financial house, we have some questions for you guys. So, Gio, what time is it and what are you grateful for?
Let me see. The time is now, and I am grateful for technology because I was able to join you guys on Zoom during the Daily Huddle event.
Awesome. We're grateful for technology as well because we join all of you on Zoom most of the time, right? Tara, where are you and who will you hug today?
Good morning. Am nowhere else but right here with the Oteys and the Daily Huddle family. And today, undoubtedly, I will hug my husband, Mike.
Awesome. You want to ask the last one?
All right, Chase. I know you had a way of a heck of a trip coming in, but we got you there and we enjoyed you being there in Atlanta. But how are you this Monday morning?
I am the way that I say I am, and today I am extremely fatigued, but positive and on my plane.
Well, there you go. That's awesome. Now you can sleep for the hour it takes you to get to New York, right?
Right.
Well, not so much, but we'll discuss that later.
Well, we enjoyed your presence this weekend for sure. It was felt, and
Thank you.
what
I
a
enjoyed you guys
fantastic
too.
job
Thank
you
you.
did. So,
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
well, as we talk this morning and we get back into the groove of our topic by topic, I'm still kind of overwhelmed with the event and being in the room and hearing everyone at their best, just pouring their heart and soul out into what they do, but also into those that attended. And so, you know, to go into, I actually felt we went first and we talked about money, and then everyone else talked about something that was just really deep and connecting. And so I'm trying to make this, thing, you know, it was almost said that we just cut them down so they could build them back up. You know, we talk about money and where it goes. Well, this morning we're going to talk about building a financial house and where you start with that. And I want to talk a little bit about things that go into building houses, right? And I want to share, just for a concept, we'll see how this works. If I can go to my screen share, and we'll do some crowdsourcing here.
Gio, can you make Zach, not us, but just Zach, a co-host?
Where's Zach by himself?
It's the mindset box there that doesn't have its camera on.
Oh, okay. Yeah, go ahead.
That guy.
All right. All right, so I'm going to share my whiteboard here, and we can have some crowd sharing or some sourcing for those people that have been involved with building anything. When you start building a house, where would you start? What would be the first part of that house that you would build? Anybody know?
Foundation.
The foundation.
Tara, are you a builder?
And you guys saw me right on the board this
Right.
week on Saturday. So,
This is
now,
worse.
now I'm writing with a little stylus on my screen. So we start with the foundation, and then what would be next after the foundation? The walls.
The
right?
frames.
Framing, walls, getting out of that foundation.
I think your walls should be taller.
That's all right. I'm building a big wedding cake here anyway.
Oh.
The third thing that we're going to focus on after we do that would be our doors. I'm oversimplifying for any general contractors that are on here for context. Doors and windows. And that doesn't look like windows at all. And then lastly, the last thing we're going to put on there is the roof.
Give us a roof.
Okay. The roof.
There you go.
Raise the roof, right?
It does
So-
look like a wedding cake.
When we start with building our financial house, what is the first thing most people want to do? What do they want? Where do they want to start? What do you think? Where they want to
The
start?
roof, of course.
They want to start with the roof because
They want to start with investments, right? They want to grow some money. They want to get rich.
that's right. So when we go backwards, right? I'm just going to erase all this here. Let's talk about the financial house. And what is the foundation of our financial house? Our financial house also has a foundation. If I can get my pen working here again. And what do we want to do with our foundation in our financial house? We want to protect. I want to make sure that my financial situation for myself and my family, but in this case for my family, is solid, whether I'm here to make it solid or not, right? Now, I want to stop this share, and I'm going to give you another one here. If I can get to it, and it's going to make me go from the video here, slideshow from the beginning. All right, let's see what we see here. All right, so when we buy a new car, what's the first thing that we do other than really regret our decisions?
Go
We're
fast.
going to put insurance on that car, right? Because we're not allowed to drive it without it most of the time. It's not because we actually want insurance. We know we need it. But what does insurance on that car actually protect? Car insurance protects your assets so that if something happens to that car, you don't have to pay for it. Your assets are protected. So when I look at it from this perspective, the car insurance doesn't protect the car, it protects my money. So a lot of us have this misconception that our insurance protects whatever it is. So this, just dream a little bit
Y'all
here.
like my car and my house.
Got a little
and-
dream car, got a little dream house out there looking over the desert with an infinity pool there. But if I build this house, I'm going to put some homeowners insurance on it, right? But does that homeowners insurance put a force field around my house so that if a tornado comes across this mountainside, my house doesn't get torn down?
No.
It does not. My homeowners insurance does not protect the home itself. It protects the assets. It protects my investment in that home. So in that same vein, what about medical insurance? If I go out and buy my medical insurance, right, it comes right out of my paycheck every week or whatever. Does that protect me from getting sick? If I buy health insurance, does it mean that I'm not going to get sick? No, it doesn't. It means that I'm not going to have to pay as much if I do get sick. That's what that means. So we talk about that from that perspective, and I will stop my share here just to kind of connect this with you guys. The number one thing people don't do is protect their assets from the loss of the ability to work or the loss of life. So from that perspective, I like to articulate this to people and say, if you wanted your plan to be set in stone, ready to go, and you said, you know what, I want to save, I don't want to buy life insurance. I'm going to take $1,000 a month and I'm going to put it away in a savings account, right? So that when it's time for me to do this, I've got money there. So if I take $1,000 a month starting right now, and I invest it every month, and it grows over 5 years, how much am I going to have? $60,000, right? Over 5 years, I would have accumulated $60,000. And let's just say that during that time frame, that money doubled. So at the end of 5 years, I've got $120,000 in cash. And something happens to me. And let's say that I provide my family with an average household income of about $75,000 a year. How long is my family going to survive off of my 5 years of investment effort?
2.
Less than that, right? So we've got $120,000 in cash. So they're going to go through that within 2 years. So what we want people to understand that, yes, savings is important, and we want to be prepared when we get to the end of the day. But in the financial house, we have to separate our financial house from our emotional house. A lot of people don't think about life insurance because they don't want to think about the loss of that individual. But when it comes to paper, we bring a financial, we're an asset to our families. And what we bring to our families on paper has a number to it. What we bring emotionally, it's invaluable. You cannot put a price on that. But we have to get people to separate those two. So I like to say to this: if I had out in my garage a machine that every year, all I had to do was turn that machine on once a day and turn it off at the end of the day, and that machine produced $75,000 a year of income, would I insure that machine?
Yes.
Against something happening to it, right? So it's
If you want your $75,000 to keep coming,
right. And so it's a monetary discussion. It's not an emotional one. It's not one where the emotional house needs to be involved. Our emotional house is built totally differently. That's something that Tara could talk to us about a lot more than I can talk to us about. But the financial house, you want to build it on a solid foundation. And for a very small fraction of that, of money, you can do that. Now, let me go back to my whiteboard and go next after protection. The next thing in our financial house that we want to talk about is debt. Debt, and specifically debt management. Right? Now, what do we know about debt?
Sorry.
Is it bad?
Sometimes.
I drew my picture too big. I want to talk about the wealth formula, but we'll do that later. So we go to debt management. What we want to do is get rid of all debt that we can't out earn. So if we take that into account, a mortgage that's secured by, or a house that's secured by a mortgage, is that technically debt? In the real sense of debt, yes, right? We've borrowed money, we owe money, so we're in debt. Is the house worth more than the mortgage?
Ideally.
Ideally it is, right? So then we're not technically in the black. I mean the red, we're in the black, right? I could sell the house and I could pay off that mortgage. So that, and I could also earn more, unless you've gotten your mortgage in the last 60 days, right? I could probably out earn any accelerated down payment that I would make on that house. So if I were to pay an extra $1,000 a month to that house to eliminate a 3% or a 4% debt that's tax preferred, right? Would I be able to outpace that 3 or 4% if I took that money and put it somewhere else? My answer to that is more than likely yes. So when I talk about debt management with people, a lot of times we find that they are emotionally overpaying their mortgage because that's what their grandparents did. That's what their parents taught them how to do. So again, want to separate the emotional house from the financial house and say, does this make mathematical sense? Because ultimately, if I'm not going to sell my house, when it's paid off, all I have is a piece of paper. So I don't have money growing for me anymore. The asset is going to grow in value. Real estate, that's what a lot of people don't realize, grows and falls in value regardless of how much you borrow against it. So there's a whole nother class there. But from that perspective, we want to talk about debt management. Get rid of the credit cards and do it in a way that's systematic. Now, after that, or simultaneously, I should say, we want to start on the next layer of our financial house, which is what, Kimberly?
Emergency fund.
That's it.
Is that it?
That's it. Emergency fund. For emergent expenses, right? We want to start on our emergency fund while we're getting rid of our debt. How much do we want to have in an emergency fund?
I feel like you're baiting me. Typically, emergency fund is 3 to 6 months of your income, of your monthly income, so you can pay your bills if something were to happen. I think it's really important to remember back during COVID. A lot of people don't have emergency funds. They don't prepare for emergencies because it's more fun just to go spend our money than to actually save it and think all those things through. And I think emergency funds in the past has always been just our credit cards. My car breaks down, I'm going to swipe my credit card. I'll pay it off later, but that's my emergency fund. And during COVID, I think that changed for a lot of people because they lost their jobs very quickly, right? Unexpected, never knew, when are we coming back? What's the world coming to, what's going to happen? And so planning for that emergency now is much more real. People can feel it. People understand why it's so important. So I say a minimum of 3 to 6 months savings in a liquid account somewhere. Obviously 12 is better, just so you have that, because it's important when you need money to be able to access it and have it.
And there's a lot of deep dives that can be done in this. We just wanted to get conceptual so you guys could ask questions. But the last one, our roof, is our investment. Right? You guys see that? I know you do because I see it on the screen here. My beautiful artwork. So remember, the financial house and the emotional house, a lot of times, we talked several episodes ago about why are people so emotional about money. In order to be successful in planning, you really have to take an emotional void, if you will. You got to take your emotions out of the financial planning process and look at the math. Look at what makes the most sense. So anyway, we're here at 9:21. What kind of questions, Q&A here that you guys have about what I said that's different than what you might have thought before, or that we can expand on a little bit?
And while you guys are thinking about that, I'll just draw that correlation again between your financial house and your a real house. A real house, you start with your foundation, right? You don't start with the roof. The roof in an investment piece are your investments, because that's where in the investment piece, right?
Yeah.
On the financial side, those are your investments. That is what people want, right? They're so excited about that. They want to plan for their future, so they want to invest money. And we want you to do that too. We just want to make sure that your foundation is stable and it's set and it's taken care of, because all the investments in the world, maybe in the world, but won't matter if you're not protected and do things properly. So
yeah. Thoughts,
let's
questions?
chat. If not, Zach has to keep talking, and
I can do that.
Hi, Tara.
Hey, can you go a little bit deeper on the insurance piece? Because if I'm understanding you, the insurance is what the protection and the foundation is all about. And in my experience, I'm kind of late to the game and trying to save money. I feel like the older you get, the more expensive the insurance / protection is. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, so it is. It's definitely health. It's health and age, and there are all kind of factors that go into pricing the insurance. But if you remember, the example I used at the beginning was $1,000 a month. In most cases, we're not spending $1,000 a month on insurance. So there's so many different types of insurance that you can use that can be incredibly affordable. And in reality, when we start with somebody at this point, it's one of those things where if we talked about, I think $60,000 doubling over 5 years to $120,000 for $120,000 worth of basic term life insurance. I'm not even sure. I think the last policy I did on myself was $1 million in term, and I think it's what
185, I don't know, something like that.
Right around $100 to $125 a month, maybe. And that has accelerated living benefits on it and several other things that would protect my assets if I got sick and didn't die. So there's a whole nother piece to that.
I think the important thing to understand about life insurance is that initially the intention is income replacement, right? To make sure that your family is taken care of if something happened to you, and they can continue to live the same lifestyle they're living right now and sustain themselves without having to stop and go, oh my gosh, they're going to do that emotionally anyway. Their whole world has just changed. Financially, we want that as stable and as normal as possible for as long as possible. So rule of thumb in the industry is 10 years income replacement. So if you make $100,000 a year, 100,000 times 10 is $1 million. You need a minimum of $1 million worth of life insurance to replace your income for that 10-year period of time. I take that a little longer. Like if you have a baby, you probably need it longer than that 10-year period if you want things to remain the same. But I think that's the most important piece. As you get older, hopefully you've been saving and your income pieces are starting to fall into place as far as replacing them, right? Social Security, pension, retirement, those pieces. So your need for life insurance is going to be less from an income replacement, because hopefully the goal is that you've already replaced your income, or you're well on your way to replacing your income. I think it's like we talked about Saturday. When's the best time to buy life insurance? 20 years ago, right? And buy a permanent policy that lasts forever, because then you're covered and it doesn't matter how old you get. But the next best time is today. If you can afford it and if you are healthy, life insurance is a big thing to say, all right, I'm just going to bite the bullet and I'm going to do it.
Very bad analogy.
Anyway, you understand what I'm saying? And I'm going to take care of that, because it's that income replacement piece. There are a lot of people that use life insurance also to build a legacy and to build their wealth. And because it's really, when you think about giving millions for pennies or dollars or even hundreds of dollars, that's a big legacy generating piece for cheap money, right? So if I can spend, even if I could spend $10,000 a year for $1 million policy, it's a big deal, right? I can give my family $1 million for $10,000 a year. But regardless of that, at the basis, at the foundational level, it's that income protection, and it's making sure it's in place. And as we get older, then hopefully it starts to change, right? Tell me let's see what Gio just says. All right, this is from Linda on Facebook. I've not managed my money well. I'm 54, but started getting it together during COVID when I realized in how bad of a shape I was. I finally have an emergency fund, both $1,000 for quick emergencies and 3 to 6 months expenses. I worry about retirement because I have none. What's the best way to get started? I have health insurance through work and I have term life right now, $500,000. So the answer is always, it depends. Linda, I'm happy to chat with you offline and give you some ideas and suggestions. But first off, I'll say congratulations to you for recognizing. I think that's step one, right? Recognizing, oh, I got to fix this. I got to do something and I have to start. So that's a big deal. So kudos to you for realizing that. But it's also like we talked about, and I don't think you were there on Saturday, but it's like we talked about on Saturday. You might not can save your way to retirement at this point, right? So then it might be a conversation of what are your choices? What are your options? And that's where even if it's on a side basis or part-time basis or whatever, you find some sort of alternative income stream that can pay you during retirement or can make enough money so then you can afford to set it aside and start saving. But most of the time, especially if we're trying to cram 30 years worth of savings in the last 10, we got to make more money so we can put more money away. So then you can afford to retire. But again, we'll have those questions offline. If you just want to reach out, you can, I think our info is in the bio, but you can reach out and ask us. Any other questions before we wrap up for the day? Anybody else have anything they want to say?
And there's another one from Facebook.
I think that's the one I just did.
No,
there's another one.
send me another one.
Oh,
Can't get his name, but from Totum. And
can you read it to me?
he said, can you please give an example of a place where I can put an extra 1,000, meaning instead of paying down my mortgage.
Yes, it depends.
So there, and that being said,
It's levy, it's levy.
Levy.
Okay. So yeah, we operate as fiduciaries. So I would tell you that we can give general advice about different options in different places, but it's more or less just for the sake of education. So there are many places we can go into Roth IRAs, managed money accounts, basic stock accounts. There's also
Investment grade life insurance.
Yeah, cash value life insurance that has some great benefits on the backside. So there are all kinds of different places to reallocate those funds. And that's one of the things that we do when we sit down with families or individuals is we take a look at their entire picture, their emotional house, their financial house, and we give them a plan to build that, starting from the foundation and doing what we do all the way up. So there are a lot of different options. Depending on age, health, and time horizon, how long you've got to save. Those are the three major determining factors, and risk tolerance.
And how the rest of your, are we protected? Is your debt in place? Is your emergency fund set? Like, where do we go from there? So we look through all of those pieces. I think it's also important to know, someone reached out to me personally yesterday on Facebook, and they were like, I want to sit down with you and ask all these questions and start putting my financial house in order. How much does it cost to meet with you guys? And I guess that's a big valid question, right? Because most of us don't feel like we have enough money to have a financial planner, much less pay someone to tell us that we don't have enough money, right? So we don't charge anything for our advice. We don't charge anything to meet with us. We're going to give you our best every single time and our free professional opinion. And the only thing that we ask is that, if there's something that fits, you do business with us, because obviously we would appreciate that. If you don't, it's really going to hurt our feelings and I might cry a little. But other than that, there's no obligation necessary. So just remember that when you're looking for people and you want to talk to people, it's free to have a second opinion. I will. Oh, Zach's gonna be technical over here. I don't know how you're gonna do that.
I'm going to share screen.
So somebody asked for our contact information. Here's our fancy QR code. Oh, it's okay. I can't share it. Let me just type it in the chat.
All right, that's
because
fine.
it's 9:30 here.
All right.
I'll type it in the chat for you, Linda, really quick, and then I'll make sure that it's on Facebook in this as well. So this is my cell phone number, and here's my email, just so you have it. And while we do that, then we can wrap up for the day.
Yeah. Well, good questions, and I hope you guys got some value out of that. I certainly love the educational aspect of that, and in the nature of the Daily Huddle. Like Kimberly answered that question yesterday. Our advice is not, it doesn't cost for a plan to sit down with us, and if all we do is give away free advice, then somebody's better off than that, and it doesn't really matter. We just ask that they might throw us some referrals down the road. But either way, remember, as we go out into the world today, to think about these things. Love, laugh out loud, stress less, right? We got you Monday morning thinking about your money, and here you are again, stressed out. Don't do it. Just know where you are and let's get started. Eat mostly plant-based. Take care of your body. Make sure that you're aware of your body and what's going on there. Give what you can, and sleep. Get rest, right, Chase? Get some sleep. Move. Get up and move after you get done with this meeting, and then check yourself before you wreck yourself. Give a pause before you react. Guys, it's great to see you again after this weekend, and we will see you again same time, same place tomorrow on the Daily Huddle.
Bye, guys.
Thank you all.